Hi, my name is Rachel Leong. I'm currently an HR assistant at Chalk Children's Hospital. I marched with the Oregon Crusaders in 2013, 2014, and 2016, and then I marched OC Indoor from 2015 through 2017. Then I moved down to California and I marched Pulse Percussion from 2018 to 2019, and I aged out with Blue Stars in 2018. And I'm so excited to go inside the shot with Russell.
Hi everyone, it's Russ Tanakaya with this week's edition of Inside the Shot. I'm so excited for this edition. I've been waiting to interview this performer for weeks, and it's finally upon us. This lady I met in the lot several years ago when she played the viola for Pulse Percussion. And what attracted me to her is, if you notice on her left shoulder, she has a nice tattoo of a lioness. And I was thinking to myself when I took that picture, this is a lady I've got to meet, and her personality meets it perfectly. So welcome this week to Rachel Leong of Pulse Percussion. Let's go inside shot number one. Now, I didn't know Rachel at the time that I took this picture. This is a show up in Oregon, where I believe she's from. I think she went to the University of Oregon, Oregon State.
Portland State.
Oregon State. Oh yeah, forgive me.
It's okay.
But after I met her, it dawned on me that this lady is playing a string instrument, which I'm not sure about. I'm not sure I'd ever seen that before. Rachel, why don't you tell us a little about this?
So I am actually, I'm a string player by trade. I kind of just happened into the front ensemble by accident. I really wanted to join marching band sophomore year of high school because all my friends were doing it. But I've actually been taking string lessons since I was about 3 or 4 years old. I started on violin and I switched to viola when I was 12 years old. And for Oregon Crusaders 2014 program, Nevermore, he had this idea that they wanted to feature me as a string soloist on the electric viola. So I had like a quick little audition with him, and I ended up soloing on viola and played marimba as well in 2014. And it just sort of made its way into the 2016 program as well. The show was called Hunted that year, so it took place in a forest, and it's about prey, predator, and being hunted. And we played the song Hunter by Bjork in it as well. And something that's cool about Oregon Crusaders when they were still active is that pretty much every show has like a callback to where they're from, to being based in Oregon. We're kind of like a little niche in the Pacific Northwest. So I know that the uniforms were based on the idea that we're surrounded by trees in Oregon. If you've ever been there, it's super green. So the uniform features birch trees and also pine trees, I believe, as well.
Let's go inside shot number 2. So this was an iconic show to me. It was the first year that strings were allowed in WGI, and I was convinced from the moment I saw the preview of the show before it was released to the public that Pulse was going to win a world championship that year. I thought it was that iconic, and I love this picture because it features you in kind of a pose that says, "Here we are." Tell us about the show. It was called Guarded?
Yes, correct. The show is called Guarded. It's a show about being emotionally, unavailable, or having your barriers up against the world because life is difficult, and it can be difficult to be vulnerable with your family, with your friends, with people around you. So I know that as a string quartet, it was the first time that anything had ever happened in WGI history. And it was really cool to be a part of it. I know that Pulse made a really big deal about keeping the string quartet a secret. So when I moved down to California, and it was a secret, people were wondering why I was moving down, and I couldn't even say what instrument I was playing. People just assumed I was going to be playing vibraphone or something with Pulse front ensemble, but no, I was actually going down to be a part of a super sneaky string quartet that no one knew about yet. The show itself ended up being kind of a turning point for all of us, and we didn't really have any expectations going into it about what kind of results or awards might end up being, but we just knew that once that show was out there that, it would change things. That was kind of the point of it.
It was an incredible show. I love it. I wish I could see it again today. We're going to try something a little bit different here and look at 2 pictures at once. This is from the same show, a few minutes apart, but it really shows Rachel's diversity and performance quality here. 2 different emotions at almost the same time in a show. So let's go inside a couple of new shots. This is an incredible shot showing some very positive emotion. And Rachel, I remember seeing this uniform and I thought, what the heck is going on here? And I remember the source music was of the Carpenters. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that show.
Yeah, So the show was the Once and Future Carpenter, but the Blue Stars 2018, that was my age out show. Yeah, you touched on the uniforms. It was another one of those times when I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna look crazy. I think with the overalls, people thought we looked kind of like minions, like the little Despicable Me yellow guys. But again, it's one of those shows where I think when you see it on the field, it's like it works. Like it makes sense why we look that way. The shot that you picked is midway through the closer, I think. So it's a very like joyous, happy part of the show. And if I remember correctly, and you can probably see it if you watch like the overhead cam, I'm looking at the other end marimba. His name is Dylan, and we're just goofing off, like having a really great time. It was really important to the Blue Stars Front Ensemble that year that we had a lot of really personal moments with everybody else in the group. So I can almost name who I'm looking at or what I'm thinking about in every part of the show because it was so important that we made those moments our own. So I don't even think I'm holding the cymbals really well. I think it's just kind of like I'm just holding them any way that I can have them and just having a good time looking at my friend.
And I think in the contrasting shot, it shows the kind of bashful, coy Rachel Leong. And when I see that, and I, in my mind, picture that lioness on your shoulder, it just blows my mind that you would have that kind of spectrum in your bag of emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's another one of those kind of playful, like there's all kinds of emotions in that show. Especially if you watch the front ensemble, like we're all displaying, like sometimes we'll look at each other and we'll be kind of angry or, competitive or like you said, bashful or coy. So I think at that moment I was looking at my friend Emily and it's kind of like, I think it was the ballad specifically. So it's, the ballad was Close to You by the Carpenters, and it was a really cool moment for us to look at each other, kind of flirt with each other, like that's my friend over there. So that was the moment.
Well, you did a great job at that. And truth be told, that first photo where you've got that look on your face and you're playing the cymbals, I actually got a remark on Facebook when I published that from your father, who said, that's a look that Rachel's been practicing from when she was a baby.
I guess so. I wouldn't know, but my dad would.
Let's go on to the next shot. Yeah, and see, this photo is of a lady that has a lioness on her shoulder. I love the show. I love the intensity of the show, and I think that's the perfect picture of capturing an emotion that you all in the front ensemble were portraying that day. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that's from my age out season with Pulse. That's our 2019 program called Divided We Fall. Right, that's right. I was like, wait a second. Yeah, Divided We Fall. And at that particular moment, I believe it's the opener. And if you watch the opener from that show, the floor is split in half. So right down the 50, it's like the quads on one side, it's the snares on one side, and the whole point is that we're kind of like at odds, we're combative against each other. So whenever we're not playing, which at that moment, we weren't focused on the marimba, it was a moment for us to, stare the audience down, look really intense, have, a very serious face. So yeah, I remember just kind of trying to put on like that intense emotion during that shot, and I'm glad it came across.
Yeah, that show, they had a lot of kind of controversy in the middle. That whole green table thing is pretty iconic. So it was a great show. And up until the very last minute in Dayton on that Saturday night, I thought the question really was in doubt. I thought you guys were going to win. I just got edged out by somebody else that year, but another outstanding show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to thank our featured guest this week, Rachel Leong, for joining us from Southern California and showing us the range of everything that happens on the frontline ensemble and winter drumline and drum corps. Rachel, thanks for joining us this week. I hope you had a great time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the field again.
Yeah, thanks, Russell. It was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to this, looking forward to going inside the shot with you and looking at these photos. Kind of a fun trip down memory lane.